Regular meeting number 59 will now come to order. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. President Tim Doran, would you please lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This evening, Council is appreciative to have Minister Co-Leader Elijah McCutcheon from New Covenant Believers Church to pray with us. Pastor, welcome to Council.
Good evening, President Hardin, and to City Council members. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for the opportunity to gather here to do the work for the good of Columbus, for the prosperity of the people, and for the advancement and the coming together of us as one. I ask that you allow for the visions to be carried out, allow for the ideas to be written on paper and brought to life, and allow for our thoughts to be towards those who are in need of our ideas and where we are going. We thank you for it now. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Barbosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorns Green, Remy White, President Hardin. Any person who takes any action to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of City Council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I get a motion to dismiss with the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Barbosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorns Green, Remy White, President Hardin.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. I'm going to take presidential privilege and go out of order. We have special guests we have many special guests as I look out into the audience, but we have a special guest. The family of our council member, Otto Beatty, is in the chamber. And I want to, we will formally recognize and celebrate Councilmember Beatty next week at his last meeting serving the city of Columbus as a council member. But I did not want this moment to go by when he had his family here to give them a chance to speak. And so at that point, I would invite the family of Otto Beatty to come forward. And by family, I mean the Congresswoman Joyce Beatty and the First Lady of the district, Christy Angel. Do we need to, would you like us to?
I was waiting.
Would you like us to wait?
She's in the hall.
Oh, she's right here.
There she is.
Take your time. Seriously. Councilmember Bay, this was almost like your hearing, right? Where you had your family down here and they were the star. We all heard that Mom was the star of the show at Councilmember Beatty's hearing a few months ago when he passed his accessory dwelling legislation.
Yep, the star and the inspiration.
The star and the inspiration.
Well, first of all, we would like to say on behalf of the Beatty family, it is an honor for us to stand here united to say to you, President Harden, and to all the members of the City Council and to this great city, thank you for honoring the brilliance and the service for 1 year of Otto Beatty III. As I said earlier, and Otto reminded us, it is an honor to be a part of this family that has served almost 70 years. When you think of OB, as we fondly call him, if that's okay with us.
Yes, that's all right.
As we fondly call him, completed the circle by serving as a member of this great body representing this city. Laurel Beatty, for more than 15 years, the youngest to be appointed to the judicial branch of serving on the court, leaving a legacy for Spencer and for Leah. And then having the opportunity to follow in the footsteps of their father, my late husband, Otto Beatty Jr., who served more than 20 years in the State House, allowing me to serve there and then go to the United States Congress. And I only say this because it's important to note, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I'll end in the words of Otto Beatty III when he said earlier today that we've had an opportunity to serve and give, and it's an honor because it's what's expected. It's not about us, but it's about what we do. And today, I would like to say, as a member of the United States Congress, that we bestow on you, Otto Beatty III, a service award because you could have been anywhere.
Yeah.
But you asked to be here and to be a part of this body. And your colleagues have said you have brought agendas, notebooks, binders, legal advice, and more. And so we thank you.
Well, in that case, again, next week we have our real recognition of the council member, but everyone talked about how studious the council member has been. When he would come to briefings, he would do the briefing himself instead of staff. So we did a Columbus City Council report card for the council member. And it says for legislation passed, he gets a A++. For council hearings attended, he gets an A++. For punctuality, he gets an A++. For participation, he gets an A++. For communication, he gets an A++. And for collaboration, he gets an A++. Council member, thank you so much for your service.
When I was a little boy, I made a promise to my mother. Remember that? You told me that story when I was a little boy, how I said, "Mom, I'm going to be in the paper one day."
Again, would you help us celebrate our council member Otto Beatty? This week's communications received by the city clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the city bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll go around the dais for any updates or resolutions, starting with Councilmember Rosa De Padilla. Councilmember, the floor is yours. Thank you. Councilmember Beatty. Councilmember Day Alcower. President Pro Tem.
No resolution, but did want to say today is the 138th anniversary of the American Federation of Labor being founded right here in Columbus, Ohio. So the AFL of the AFL-CIO was founded right here in Columbus back in the 1800s. So today, just wanted to recognize that that is the anniversary.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Councilmember Green. Councilmember, Councilmember Remy. Councilmember Weiss. And I don't have any announcements. Are there any announcements from our elected officials? Seeing none, at this time, I request the following ordinance to be removed from the consent portion of the agenda. From the Housing and Homelessness and Building Committee, ordinance 3322-2025. Are there any other requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance? Seeing none, may we now have a motion to waive the reading of titles of third-aid legislation by the city clerk? Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Betty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance of a 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda?
In Finance and Governance Committee, we have ordinance 3078, 3098, and 3165-2025. Economic Development and Small and Minority Business, we have ordinance 2852, 2942, 3183, 3211, 3280, 3284, 3290, 3300, 3307, 3326, 3344, and 3345-2025. Public Service and Transportation Committee, we have ordinances 3126, 3148, 3185, 3232, 3238, and 3315-2025. Neighborhoods, Recreation, and Parks Committee, we have ordinance 3142-2025. Workforce, Education, and Labor Committee, we have ordinances 3218 and 3219-2025. Health, Human Services, and Equity Committee, we have ordinance 3312-2025. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, ordinance 3225 and 3252-2025. Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, we have resolution 257X-2025, ordinances 2899, 2917, 3028, 3119, 3120, 3127, 3135, 3137, 3141, 3144, 3147, 3174, 3189, 3194, 3207, 3239, 3267, and 3276-2025. Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, ordinances 2952, 3173, 3201, 3202, 3212, 3259, 3264, 3273, 3329, and 3330-2025. Rules and Policy Committee, ordinances 1659, 3343, 3314, 3360, 3379, 3188, 3354, 3328-2025. Zoning Committee, we have ordinance 3271, 3331, 3346, 3355. Variances 3274, 3275, 3347, and 3353-2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have several folks on the first reading portion of our agenda. Just a reminder before folks come down that anything on first reading is just that, a first reading for the legislation. And so we encourage a lot more participation before anything is actually considered on second reading. But with that, I would like to call first up Courtney Thrain, speaking against ordinance 3314-2025. Welcome to council. And if you would state your name, address, and if you represent any organization.
Good evening. My name is Courtney Thrain, Executive Director of German Village Society. Thank you, Council President Harden and all council members. Last week's COA hearing displayed civic engagement at its finest. The hearing underscored 4 key themes. 1, the vital need for accessibility. 2, oversight of subcontractors. 3, everyone working together. And 4, the very broad scope of the legislation. The hearing reaffirmed a definition of the right-of-way that does not encroach upon private properties. Let's take this rhetoric and put it into real action. German Village stands ready to work together with the city, and here's how. We can provide key oversight of the ADA ramp installation through a live stream on our website that is zoomed in and solely focused on the installation work as it happens. We can make a best practices video in several languages as a key training tool for our diverse workforce. Next, it was reiterated during the hearing that work in the right-of-way would not alter historic structures on private property, some which directly abut the sidewalk. If historic structures were to be altered, a COA would, of course, be required. This year, I surveyed 100 residents about their experiences with the enhanced water meter project. 60% were satisfied, while 40% encountered issues, such as placement of the meter, method of installation into historic materials, and the material composition of the meter casing. Here, the city did not obtain a COA to alter historic structures located on private property. Conversely, private property owners are not allowed to alter these meter boxes, even to simply paint them without a COA. If they do, they could be fined by the city. As you heard last week, only one staff person in the city's Historic Preservation Office supports each historic district. Thousands of COA requests to paint meter boxes would go to one person. At a recent German Village Commission meeting, I requested a list of approved paint colors to educate property owners on painting the boxes. I have not yet received it, but a list of approved paints would expedite the approval process for city staff, creating much-needed efficiency. I shared the water meter report with our neighborhood liaison, Rebecca Deeds, who shared it with leadership at Columbus Water and Power. I am so grateful for Rebecca's support. She gives German Village a lifeline to the city. To close, please consider the far-reaching impact of the COA legislation. Pause. Consider how work in the right-of-way can naturally encroach upon and directly alter private historic structures. In these cases, a direct review through the COA process would clearly be warranted. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thrain. We have two other folks speaking on this, so I will call up Anthony Meyer. Welcome to council.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Anthony Meyer. I'm a resident of German Village, and I'm the president of the German Village Society. I am here this evening to again ask you as leaders of the city to join us as caretakers of a legacy, a commitment to the long-term stewardship of our irreplaceable historic and architectural assets for future generations. While you've heard the compelling arguments detailing the value of our neighborhoods and a unanimous support for accessibility, I must now focus on three fundamental things that are standing in the process that brought this legislation before you. First, we have documented proof and on-the-ground experience that contradicts the city's claim that it is a burdensome and lengthy process to complete the Certificate of Appropriateness process, the process which aims to produce consistent oversight of the demolition and efforts to salvage, preserve, and maintain historic materials. Urgent COA requests have been completed in a day. Allowing this ordinance to proceed based on flawed operational assumptions undermines the integrity of your legislative decision-making. Second, there is no genuine emergency that requires this council to rush to sign this ordinance into law. An emergency ordinance is reserved for sudden, critical threats. The underlying legal issues have been known for some time, and the proposed solution, stripping protections from the National Historic Landmark District, is radical, not urgent. Rushing this vote denies due diligence and only serves the city's desire to unilaterally break a covenant with its historic neighborhoods. Third, and perhaps most critical, the German Village Commission, the GVC, the mandated body of expert, mayoral-appointed preservationists, were not involved in the drafting of this ordinance, and they have meaningful, actionable input. The GVC exists to guide rehabilitation in accordance with the city code. Excluding the GVC means the resulting ordinance is falsely compromised, lacking at the end of the day, it really lacks the expertise that is required to solve the problem. You're being asked to approve a solution written without input from the experts, so we're just asking that we pause this and that we slow down and give them an opportunity to work with you. Council, we're not asking you to, and denying your need to put in these ramps. What we're asking is that we look at the process and better understand how we can repair the flaw process. Therefore, we just ask that you pause on approving this ordinance. We ask that you table this immediately so that the relevant parties can sit down and craft a comprehensive, lasting solution that respects both the city's operational needs and the statutory protection of our nationally historic neighborhoods. The decision before you is not whether to build, but how to govern. Reject this rushed process today. Instead, let us work together and become genuine caretakers of a legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. And then our final speaker on this ordinance, and then I'm going to turn it over to our Chair of Public Service, Councilman Brosa de Badia, if she has any remarks. Mr. Anthony Hart, welcome to council.
Good afternoon, President Hardin, council members, and staff, most importantly. I'm speaking to you today as the chair of the German Village Commission. A little background, under Columbus City Code 3119.05 duties, the commission is charged with a few key duties. Of those, I'll mention three. Item D, to determine what legislation or policy, if any, is necessary to preserve and redevelop the respective historic district and to recommend the same to the mayor or council. Item F, to work with other preservation and architectural review commissions, city departments, neighborhood groups, et cetera, to advance the preservation and redevelopment of the respective historic district and other historic resources in the city. Item G, to advise the mayor and make recommendations on conservation of city-owned structures and sites in the designated historic district and on any alteration or demolition of a city-owned property, right-of-way, or park in the designated historic district. That's straight out of city code. To date, the commission has not been contacted by the mayor, by any member of council, any city department on this matter. Our only contact has been with HPO, and for the most part, I will say unequivocally, James Gooden and his staff are fantastic. They make our job easy. But nothing about this ordinance, nothing about the curb ramp situation, zero. I was made aware of this hearing last Thursday by the German Village Society's newsletter and emails from residents. And Councilmember Brosa de Padilla, thank you for that hearing. It was much appreciated. If the city would be to, so there's two options in my opinion moving forward. Option one, if the city were required to receive a COA as outlined under the current injunction, there are basically four paths forward. Item one would be City Code 3116.09, issuance of a certificate, which allows for the issuance of a COA without public hearing if the work will not affect any architectural feature. Item two is City Code 3016.055, staff approvals, which provides the commission the ability to send administrative approval to HPO staff, and the German Village Commission has already done this many times. We're open and willing to looking for ways to expand that staff approval process to facilitate the rapid approval of applications. Item three is, prior to this hearing, I had submitted some draft legislation to allow for work to happen prior to COA approvals in emergencies. Have not heard any response back on that. And item four would be City Code 3116.23, which is exclusions to the COA process for public safety as defined in 4109 and 4709. That code could easily be adjusted to account for emergency situations. None of that has been explored, and I'd be willing to help the city look into that. Or item two, if the city were to adopt this legislation moving forward, it exempts the city departments from needing to receive COAs for right-of-way work, but it does nothing to address the underlying root problem of the lack of communication from the city departments to the German Village Commission and other historic district commissions, who have been, as identified, the keepers of the historic properties, historic districts. So in conclusion, regardless of the outcome, I recommend the City Council hold off voting, hold off and delay the emergency action on this. I think there are paths forward, and separating the planned work, i.e. the curb ramps, from emergency work is very important. And if I had more time, I'd go into the curb ramps, but I don't have that time, and I'm done. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much. And again, because this is first reading, second reading will be next week, so there will be plenty of opportunity between now and then to talk. Chair?
Yes, thank you, Council President. So we did have a 2-hour and 45-minute hearing. So if anyone has some spare time, I invite you all to see it. You can see some of the testimony that you heard tonight. As a reminder, this is first reading. We don't have second reading until the 15th. So we are welcoming further testimonial if folks want to reach out to our office. If there's anything else that folks want to have a conversation around, really at the end of the day, and I want to thank again all the scores of folks who joined us. There were, I believe at the end of the day, 17 or 18 testimonials and then many written testimonials. But again, this is a question about having access to our right-of-way. This is a question about ensuring that all of our neighbors in every part of Columbus have accessibility and it's easy for them and safe for them. And I think what we differed on the most was just the strategy. And so there there's opportunities for us to address the strategy, and that's really the conversation that we are going to continue to have. So I want to thank our folks from German Village that came down. I also want to thank my colleagues, both Councilmember Beatty and President Pro Tem Dorns, who also has taken on historic preservation as his piece of the Columbus Forward that he's championing, and I want to thank him for his leadership. This is something that, again, I cannot underscore that this council, especially as a growing city, we care about, and we also care about accessibility. And so understanding that preservation versus progress doesn't have to be a versus, just a strategy of how we combine the two. And that's certainly something that I think I can speak for my colleagues we are all interested in doing. So again, I want to thank the folks who have been engaging on this conversation and more to come. So thank you, Council President, for the moment to talk about it.
I appreciate your leadership and guidance as we work through this. Are there any other questions or comments on the consent portion of the agenda? Hearing none, the following ordinance appear on our agenda as first reading part of the agenda. The following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent action. Will the clerk now read those into the record?
I'm sorry.
He pulled it.
Okay, go ahead.
You have to go to consent, please.
Resolution of expression, we have 260X and 261X-2025. Finance and Governance Committee, we have ordinance 2835, 2883, 3036, 3054, 3055, 3069, 3109, 3111, and 3122-2025. Economic Development and Small and Minority Business, we have ordinance 2943, 3123, 3155, 3156, 3161, 3171, 3184, 3191, 3213, 3278, 3281, 3282, 3289, 3295, and 3310-2025. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinance 3010, 3136, 3164, 3172, 3186, and 3253-2025. Neighborhoods, Recreation, and Parks Committee, we have ordinance 2229, 2593, 2965, 3018, 3045, 3051, 3058, 3062, 3101, 3104, 3113, 3233, and 3245-2025. Health, Human Services, and Equity Committee, ordinances 2521 and 2661-2025. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, ordinance 2949, 3027, 3037, 3050, 3108, 3150, 3162, 3163, 3209, 3221, and 3248-2025. Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, ordinances 2896, 2946, 2950, 3026, 3032, 3033, 3063, 3079, 3100, 3114, 3124, 3128, 3132, 3139, 3154, 3182, 3210, and 3241-2025. Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, ordinances 3088, 3095, 3099, 3102, 3116, 3117, 3118, 3179, 3204, 3293, 3297, 3298, 3318-2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. There see no speakers on the consent portion of the agenda. May I have a motion of approval for these items as consent? Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorrance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
The consent agenda has passed. We'll now proceed with the second reading of 30-day postponed and emergency legislation. We'll go out of order this evening and go back to the First Read Rules and Policy Committee. I chair that committee. All members serve on it. But Councilmember Weiss has ordinance 3354-2025. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight in Rules and Policy on first read, I have ordinance 3354-2025 to amend Title 45 of Columbus City Codes by enactment of new Chapter 4553 to regulate the practice of utility reselling for residential properties in the city of Columbus. For a little background, the majority of Columbus residents who currently live in a multifamily rental property are not directly billed for utility services by a utility provider, but rather receive a total owed by a property owner or a third party without details of how that amount was determined. It has consistently been reported that utility reselling has inflated residential utility bills for individuals in multifamily complexes, and additionally, most residents are often not aware that they're being resold a utility, often at a higher cost, and did not knowingly choose to rent from a property that contracts with a third-party reseller. While the industry will say there are rules requiring rates consistent with similarly situated buildings due to a tariff through AEP, with no information on what is included in that amount owed, there is no way for residents to compare rates, access affordability assistance, or even adjust consumption to lower their total owed. Further, without a bill reflecting discounts passed through the landlord, residents are unable to access Columbus Water and Power utility discounts. Currently, our program only has reached about 8,500 participants, and I believe this code change will enable the department to reach more residents. When we first began this process back in April, the legislation reintroduced would have banned the practice of utility reselling. This would have resulted in rents being increased almost overnight. Over the past 8 months, we have held 3 hearings, hosted many interested party meetings, and have come to the compromise legislation before council tonight. The current draft of this legislation aims to address these issues by requiring upfront disclosure around utility billing transparency, and safeguards for fees and rates. We understand that utility reselling provides landlords with a service that is needed to assist with the burden of utility payments. Affordable and reasonably priced utilities are necessary for safety, health, and well-being of our constituents. Residents deserve increased protections, as well as a greater transparency and accountability in their utility services. By providing minimum requirements for the practice of utility reselling, we can ensure all city residents have access to appropriately priced utility services and all assistance programs. Before I move for passage, I do want to take the moment to thank my colleagues for having the political will to address this ongoing issue. The state legislature has introduced legislation many times over the last 10 years, but have never had the will to push it over the finish line. We did have one speaker sign up to speak on this, but I want to invite her up here now to provide her remarks. Annalisa Roca with the Ohio Environmental Council.
Thank you, Council President Hardin and members of City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Annalisa Roca, and I am the Central Ohio Regional Director at the Ohio Environmental Council Action Fund. The OEC Action Fund's mission is to protect the environment and the health of all Ohio communities and empower our communities to thrive in harmony with the environment. I'm here today in strong support of Ordinance 3355, regulating utility reselling. This legislation is a critical step toward ensuring transparency, fairness, and most importantly, affordability for Columbus residents who are currently struggling under inflated utility bills. Right now, most renters in multifamily buildings in Columbus are not billed directly by their utility provider. Instead, their property owner or a third-party reseller buys electricity or water at one price and then resells it, often at a substantially higher price to those tenants. This can lead to bills far above what a customer would pay if they were billed directly by the utility. For families already deciding between groceries, medication, and keeping the lights on, these inflated costs can push them into crisis. We have heard countless stories of residents facing sky-high, unexplained charges with no recourse. This ordinance provides common sense protections to correct that by capping administrative fees, prohibiting charges above what a regulated utility would bill, requiring transparent monthly bills, and ensuring payment plans and timely refunds. Columbus is putting real rail guards in place to prevent price gouging. Importantly, this ordinance still allows for flexibility, such as ratio billing for common areas and property owners' continued ability to participate in the energy market. It protects residents without shutting down beneficial practices like sub-metering used to deliver renewable energy solutions. Columbus is leading the way in setting a strong example with this legislation, At a time when utility costs are rising and affordability is at the top of minds for families across our city, these protections will ensure that residents are not paying more than they should for essential services. By increasing transparency and preventing exploitative billing practices, this ordinance helps build a more fair, stable, and affordable utility system for the people of Columbus. Thank you for your leadership on this issue and for your commitment to protecting residents' health, safety, and economic well-being. The OEC Action Fund strongly encourages council to pass this ordinance. I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Annalisa, thank you for being here, for your continued advocacy. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues, either for the speaker or the legislation?
I would just say, Mr. Chair, thank you for your leadership on this. As been referenced already, a couple weeks ago, we had to consider rate increases at a time when we know how the economy is impacting our residents and how the ability for these rate increases to impact regular folks can hurt them. One of the things that we were really focused with the administration on was making sure that we could get the folks who qualified for rate reduction into a program, and we saw that we were doing a terrible job of that. One of the reasons we were doing a terrible job of it was because of this. And so I'm just really grateful that we are a part of the solution and making sure that seniors and other folks who qualify for that rate reduction now will be more easily available to be connected to those services. So again, thank you for your leadership. This was not easy. You had a lot of stakeholders at the table, but I thought you shepherded this through very, very well. So just thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Annalisa, for being here. First, I move to waive second reading on this ordinance.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Betty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Waived.
Thank you. And now I just want to take a moment of privilege. She is stashed away in her office, but I do want to acknowledge the work that my team, especially my aide, Chelsea Coulterman, put into drafting, moving this forward, meeting with interested parties to ensure that we could come to the best possible legislation to move this forward. So just wanted to recognize their hard work. And with that, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Betty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have in rules and policy.
Are you going to go through the rest of your? No.
No.
All right, the next committee to come before council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Barosa de Padilla. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. As I'm speaking, we have a number of speakers, so if you want to start making your way to the podium while I talk about the legislation, you can come on up. So I have one ordinance, very special ordinance today in public service and transportation. That's ordinance
What goes next?
3332, 2025, to author the transfer of appropriation within the street construction, maintenance, and repair fund, to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into a contribution agreement with the Greater Columbus Arts Council in support of the Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children Art Memorial installation, to accept on behalf of the city title and ownership of the completed artwork and add it to the city's public art collection upon final acceptance and required approvals, to authorize the expenditure of up to $80,000 within the Street Construction, Maintenance, and Repair Fund and General Revenue Fund, and to declare an emergency. The Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children organization has been a steadfast voice of advocacy, healing, and awareness, uplifting families impacted by senseless violent homicide. The proposed art memorial installation will serve as a public space for remembrance, reflection, and education, symbolizing the city's commitment to supporting families and fostering unity. GCAC, in partnership with the Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children, will lead the artistic planning, community engagement, and installation design. The memorial will feature works created by a chosen juried artist with a priority focus on local Columbus artists. In addition to funding, the City of Columbus will contribute space within the public right-of-way for the installation and support necessary maintenance efforts to preserve the integrity and visibility of the memorial. I'd like to show the location of the memorial on the screen because we're going to have a couple different. This is along the Scioto Mile, close to where COSI is. So I wanted to show folks where the memorial will actually go. And then I want to give the floor over to some of our partners, our two main partners in this project, because it's been a collaboration both between the Department of Public Service, GCAC, CPD. I see. Hi, ma'am. Yes, I see Assistant Chief Potts in the back, and then as well as MOMCC. So I would like to give the floor first to you, to the founder and CEO and my friend of Columbus, MOMCC.
Okay.
I was trying to make it short. I was trying to make it long. Melissa Sinclair, the floor
I
is
love
yours.
you. Good evening, President Harden, honorable city council members, and distinguished leaders of Columbus, Ohio. It is a privilege to stand before you on behalf of mothers of murdered Columbus children. I begin with our deepest gratitude to Councilwoman Lourdes Barroso de Padilla. Your belief in our families, your leadership, and your heart have spearheaded this monumental moment for MOMCC. You have stood with us, fought for us, and carried this vision with honor, and we thank you. We also express appreciation to Mayor Ginther's office, the Department of Public Service, and GCAC for your partnership. Your support shows the strength of a city determined to heal and rise. To my co-founder, Carla Harris, my sister, my partner in purpose, I thank God for you, and to our hardworking leadership team whose selflessness anchors our mission every day. Thank you for showing up, standing tall, and loving our families with your whole hearts. Most importantly, to every mother and father, grandparent and child and sibling and loved one who has lost someone to violence, this moment is for you. Your courage is the foundation of this memorial. To speak to the power of the locks. These locks were not metal. They are stories. They are hearts. They are legacies being reclaimed with love. Like 6-year-old Percy Donaldson, who accidentally locked his lock too soon and was devastated until we handed him another one. And with so much pride, so much purpose, he insisted on placing the lock himself to honor his father. Even a child knows the sacredness of a legacy. Or our double murders. Our double murder mothers like Tracy Tate, Carla Richardson, Brittany Jones, and LaTanya Nichols. Some who stand before you today, forced to lock 2 locks at once. The weight of that moment cannot be put into words, yet these mothers stood strong and honored their babies with grace. And then there is Jessica Jones, grandmother of 9-year-old Demetrius Walneal and 6-year-old London Walneal, while executed in a car with 22-year-old Charles Wade when she went to the bridge to go visit her babies because she said it was better to visit the locks than the grave. She called me in panic. And by divine direction, when she noticed they were gone, I went into proactive motion and I reached out to First Assistant Chief Potts, who located the lock swiftly and supported the secure process that brought us here today. Thank you, First Assistant Chief LaShawna Potts. What seemed like devastation became a divine setup for legacy. So why are we here? Well, quickly in 2015, when my family visited Cincinnati's Purple Heart Bridge, we were going to put the lock in for our son who was murdered in 2013. I said I was going to come back soon, but years had passed, and by October 2021, these mothers and I went to the Purple Heart Bridge to lock our lock, and to surprise, it was closed. And yet again, that disappointment birthed a destiny designed for our own city. We hosted 5 installments of this event. In the freezing cold, the pouring rain, the intense heat, nothing stopped these families from locking their love into the legacy for their children. So this memorial is more than metal and more than a structure. It is an internal testimony It is where love overrules tragedy and where memory outlives darkness. So today I say, Columbus stands up today in the midst of a historic movement of under triple digits, which has helped bring our city to its lowest homicides in years. This monument is not separate from that work. It is part of that work. It represents prevention, remembrance, and the commitment to protect future lives. Our 2026 motto declares, "Let God's color of life shine so bright that the darkness of violence will flee and take flight." So today you see us wearing our bright neon colors. These colors are not for fashion. They are a statement. They symbolize the light of God that we choose to live out loud, a light bold enough to confront the dark, bright enough to save lives, and radiant enough to remind our city that hope is still alive. So just like this monument, our colors declare, darkness cannot win when the light is determined to shine. So in closing, I say, this memorial will stand long after we have been reunited with our loved ones in heaven. It will forever remind us, our city, of permanent loss. It will forever remind the weight of decisions and the ongoing fight to save lives. It honors our sons and daughters with dignity that they deserve and marks Columbus's commitment to become the safest big city in America. So to everyone who made this possible, thank you. This is truly a monumental moment for MOMCC in the city. And to our angels, our precious sons and daughters, your light leads us, your strength, your love strengthens us, and your legacy lives forever. Thank you, Council.
I knew I was going to have a hard time following Melissa. I haven't left a meeting on this project yet where I haven't felt the love and the courage of the women in this group. I'm Jamie Goldstein with the Greater Columbus Arts Council. Thank you, Councilmember Barroso de Padilla, Council President Hardin, distinguished members of council. GCAC and the community are grateful for your support on this important project and for your trust in us to manage this. The project is a demonstration of what public art does best. It brings people together and it encourages dialogue. This artwork will stand as a visible representation of loss, resilience, and hope. And it will serve as a compelling call for community-wide action against violence. But most importantly, this project will honor the memories of children lost to violence and provide a permanent space for families in the community to begin to heal. The deadline for artist qualifications is December 22nd. We currently have 25 submissions. There's a lot of excitement about this. We are really happy about that, and the jury already has some excellent artists to consider for finalists. Those finalists will be chosen in January and be paid a stipend to submit a specific project proposal. Melissa is on the jury, and we have a number of distinguished community members who will be helping select those artists, which will happen later in the spring. In early January, prior to the jurors' first deliberations, there will be several opportunities for public engagement, and we will provide that information to you once we have all of that locked down. We are grateful to Melissa St. Clair, to all of the members of Mothers of Murdered Children for your bravery again and for entrusting us with this very important project. To the leadership in the city and the many city employees who have helped make it a reality, particularly Councilmember Barroso de Padilla, Mayor Ginther's Chief of Staff Elon Sims, Charles Newman, and Randy Bortreiger in the Department of Public Service, and First Assistant Chief of Police LaShawna Potts. And to our jurors who will be sharing their time and talent with us next year. Personally, my heartfelt thanks to Jonna Twigg, who is with us today, for her compassionate and organized project management, and to our new CEO, Mitch Menchaca, also here this evening, for his belief in this effort. Thank you again. We're very much looking forward to bringing this project to fruition in 2026.
Thank you, Jamie. And before y'all leave, just for a second, I wanna also, Director Scacco, I can't see you, but I know you're back there. I'd like to just give you the floor to kind of close us out before I move us for passage.
Okay. President Harden, Chair Barosa de Padilla, and members of council, it is truly my honor to work with your office, GCAC, and our friends here tonight, the Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children, or the organization, to turn an unfortunate event that caused harm when we were doing routine maintenance on our bridges and inadvertently cut locks of love off the bridge into a meaningful memorial. I believe we can all see how this moment can serve as a reminder of the human toll of senseless violence in our city. Our team is incredibly proud that we are transforming this incident into a lasting memorial where residents can reflect and renew their commitment to preventing gun violence and supporting families who have lost their loved ones. I look forward to working on this, and moving this thing forward, and it's going to be really beautiful.
Thank you, Director. To our moms who are here today, I just want to say, trying to keep it together here, friends. My sister lost my nephew when he was 16 to a gun that was not properly stored, and he took his own life. Not the same, but the pain of a mother who loses their child way too young, a pain of a mother who loses a child when it is our job to be buried after our children, is one that I can certainly understand. So I appreciate you turning your pain into action, not just to heal your heart, but to heal the heart of a city and to prevent any other family from feeling the pain that you have felt. So I want to thank you for that. I believe that art heals. I believe that art brings people together. I believe that art is a form of protest, that it can educate folks, that it is the words when we don't have words, right, that can bring people together. And so I'm so incredibly honored to be part of this, so thankful to all of our partners. I want to thank Chief Potts, who does so much in our community, who is so humble about the work that she does to support families. And I just want to thank her. She even sat back there and not sitting with you, although I know she stands with you every day. I want to thank our partners at GCAC, and I want to thank the department, because sometimes we don't get it right, y'all. We don't. And the department understood that and said, we want to make it right.
Yes.
We want to make it right. And so I want to thank them, because this project is hard work for us. And I'm excited to see what this looks like. I'm excited for the day that this monument goes up and that folks can go there and visit and find this a place of healing and solace, and find this just another example of how this is an art. This is a piece of art that while we want to admire it, we don't want to participate in it.
Right.
So thank you again for your advocacy. I stand in solidarity with you. I love y'all so much. Thank you for the work that you do every day. And I sincerely hope that this brings love and healing to you and to yours and to all the families that will be a part of this. So thank you. So do my colleagues have any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Betty de Akauer, Dorrance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I just have to say thank you to my husband and my mom, who I forgot to thank, and that I had to use this platform to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. President Harden, if I could move back
Please.
to Economic Development. I am subbing for our chair. I can't promise that I will be as eloquent, but I have Director Stevens to fill in my gaps. So moving on to Economic Development, we have two pieces of legislation this evening. The first is 3125-2025 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a grant agreement with Rev 1 Ventures for the purpose of providing rent support for Section 2 of the Memorandum of Understanding and in furtherance of the 2022 Downtown Strategic Plan to authorize the appropriation and expenditure of up to $1,875,000 from the Neighborhood Economic Development Fund to authorize the advancement of funds on a predetermined schedule and to declare an emergency. Rev 1 Ventures is a Columbus-based venture development studio and early-stage venture capital fund that combines investment capital and strategic services to help entrepreneurs and companies scale and succeed. For every $1 the city invests in Rev 1 leverages $573 of investment in startups for our region. This ordinance authorizes a grant to Rev 1 Ventures to support the relocation of their several divisions and staff to a new space in the Peninsula development. This move to the Peninsula will give Rev 1 an even greater front door presence to the city and will catalyze business activity in the Peninsula, furthering the goals of the Downtown Strategic Plan. Director Stevens, is there anything you would like to add?
Thank you, President Hardin, Chair Brosa de Padilla, members of council. We've been a long-time partner with Rev 1, and having them move downtown and really bring their ecosystem with the ecosystem that supports entrepreneurships and startups is really critical. And if you haven't noticed it already, when you leave this evening, look over the peninsula. The Rev 1 sign is on the building. So we're excited to have them downtown.
Thank you. Do my colleagues have any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Barosa de Padilla, Betty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 3226-2025 to authorize the Director of Development to execute contracts with numerous for-profit, not-for-profit, and social service agencies in an amount up to $1,318,319.22 for the purpose of assisting the Department of Development to administer the Accelerate Columbus program and to authorize the expenditure or the appropriation and expenditure of funds in an amount of up to $428,579.22 within the income tax set-aside fund and to authorize the expenditure of $889,739.50 from the general fund and to declare an emergency. Accelerate Columbus is the city's flagship small business program offered for free. This small business training program is made up of several programs run by various entrepreneur support organizations, such as the Columbus Chamber, Human Service Chamber, Women's Small Business Accelerator, Catholic Social Services, and many, many more. Accelerate offers assistance in all facets of entrepreneurship, from networking to accessing capital, ensuring businesses have the support and resources needed to thrive in today's competitive business landscape. This ordinance authorizes $1.3 million in funds to support Accelerate Columbus programming for 2026. The city's flagship small business program, Accelerate 2026, will offer 16 programs for the first time ever, including options for the nonprofit sector. So registration will take place on the city's small business hub, and that address, web address, if folks are interested, is cbusmallbizhub.com, and will be shared widely once it's available. Again, Director Stevens, I give the floor to you. Is there something you would like to add to the ordinance?
Thank you, Chair Brosa de Padilla. I just want to thank council for their ongoing support of our small businesses in town. And it's also important, as you noted, that this is for-profit, not-for-profit, and social services, because I think I've heard many times in this chamber that not-for-profits are businesses as well. So we're happy to provide that assistance to these startups.
Absolutely. And I just have to say, as the daughter of a previous small business owner, the amount of support that your team gives to small businesses is critical because they are the lifeblood of our community. It's what makes our city great. It gives people access and opportunity. Sometimes when they're trying to find their way, it turns their side hustle into their main hustle. And y'all are number one hustlers when it comes to that. So I want to thank you for all the work that your team does, because it really is pretty remarkable. And I'm trying to do service to our chair, who I know is such a believer in small business and providing them with the opportunities both for capital and access with the many programs that he runs in conjunction with the team who runs the Small Business Center. So thank you. Do my colleagues have additional questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Great, and that's all for me this evening. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Finance Committee. That committee will be chaired tonight by Pres Pro Tem. Pres Pro Tem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First, we have Ordinance 3049-2025 to authorize the Director of Department of Technology on behalf of the Mayor's Office of Diversity and Inclusion to enter into a contract for the purchase of annual B2G Now software subscriptions and the provision and hosting of a citywide supplier diversity management system, as well as an overall product maintenance, support, and professional services to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, to authorize the expenditure of $139,523 in the Department of Technology Services Operating Fund. This ordinance authorized the Department of Technology on behalf of our Office of Diversity and Inclusion to enter a contract with B2G Now for purchase of its annual software subscription, provisioning and hosting of a citywide supplier diversity management system, as well as the overall product maintenance, support, and professional services. The Office of Diversity and Inclusion uses this software to help the city implement its supplier diversity management system, which is integrated with the city's financial and data management systems, and provide hosting services to this operation. As the system is already established, a waiver of competitive bidding requirement outlined in Columbus City Code 329 is requested to allow the city to continue to use the services of B2G Now. This new agreement provides for 4 additional annual renewal options through January 31st of 2031. Which is subject to the mutual agreement and approval by appropriate city authorities. Any questions or comments from my colleague? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 3140-2025 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management on behalf of the Office of Construction Management to modify an increase in management with Moody Nolan, Inc. for the Architect of Record Services for the new Municipal Courthouse Building project to authorize expenditure of up to $1,646,605 from the Construction Management Taxable Bonds Fund and declared emergency. This ordinance authorizes a contract modification with Moody Nolan for additional architectural services related to design of the new municipal court building. The city is contemplating a connector between the existing municipal court building located in 375 South High Street and the to-be-constructed new municipal court building. This ordinance is a need to establish funding for the design for this potential connector. Future construction costs associated with the connector will be based on the feasibility and the availability of funding. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 3260-2025 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to enter a contract on behalf of Facilities Management Division with Ohio Technical Services, Inc. for inspecting, testing, removal, and remediation of hazardous materials from city facilities to authorize the expenditure of $130,000 from the general fund to waive the competitive bidding provisions of 329 of the Columbus City Codes and declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes a contract with Ohio Technical Services for hazardous material management on behalf of Facilities Management Division. This contract was competitively bid in 2024. Ohio Technical Services was awarded the contract, which provided for 4 annual contract renewals. A bid waiver is being requested as this contract was not renewed prior to the expiration of its initial term. However, Ohio Technical Services will conform to the terms and original bid solicitation and will also adhere to the city code section related to the payment of responsible wage. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And finally, we have Ordinance 3426-2025 to authorize the city auditor to provide for the transfer of $5,295,000 within general fund to increase appropriation of $977,880 in the E911 fund and $1,100,000 in the Sustainable Columbus Fund declared emergency. As part of the 2025 third quarter financial review, the Department of Finance and Management identified surpluses and deficits in various object classes and several divisions. In light of last-minute changes needed, the original third quarter transfer ordinance number 3228-2025, this supplemental ordinance is necessary to realign appropriations with projected expenditures through the end of this year. The ordinance authorizes a transfer of $5,295,000 among divisions within the general fund, and increases appropriations of $997,880 in the E911 fund and $1.1 million in the Sustainable Columbus Fund. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. All I have my committees at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Neighborhoods, Recreation, and Parks Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Day Alcauer. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. We have one agenda item this evening. It's about an exciting project. 2966-2025 to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter into a grant agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation to support the Greenways Improvement 2025 project and accept a grant in the amount of $435,931.86 and authorize the appropriation of $435,931.86 in the Recreation and Parks Grant Fund. This legislation authorizes the director to enter into a grant agreement with ODOT that also requires a 20% local match to rehabilitate 1.93 miles of the Olentangy and Scioto Greenway trails. These heavily used trails serve over 1,000 daily users and include segments that are more than 20 years old with safety hazards like cracking, root upheavals, and ponding. The project targets 5 high-priority sections and will include asphalt surface repairs, pavement improvements, replacement of signage and markings, and for tree clearing for safety and construction access. These improvements are guided by the CRPD's Greenway Safety and Stabilization Program and will extend pavement life, improve safety, and enhance user experiences for residents within a 10-minute walk in the broader Central Ohio community, with construction planned for the second quarter of 2026. And I would like to invite project managers Kelly Messer and Jamie Schlichting to come forward to talk about this important project.
Hi, good evening, council members. Good to see you. Glad to be here today. Thank you so much. My name is Kelly Messer, and with me I have Jamie Schlichting. We're both with the Department of Recreation and Parks, and we're both project managers. And so this grant effort is actually a culmination of efforts starting in 2023, when our department decided to do an assessment, first time ever, of all of our trails using in-house staff. And with that information, we were able to collect data that would help us from our offices identify and prioritize segments of the trails that need to be improved versus just relying solely on 311s and anecdotal information. So last year was our first trail run of this Greenway Safety Improvement Program, focusing on the Alum Creek Trail. This year, we knew we wanted to focus on the Olentangy Trail as well as another segment of the Scioto Trail, for the reasons that you had laid out for those. Some segments definitely need some love and attention, but also we know how popular and busy the Olentangy Trail is, if it's not the most busy trail in all of Ohio. And so last year when we were planning for this project, this grant came across our table, and we thought we would be good candidates. And I'm going to let my colleague Jamie talk a bit more.
Yeah. So that prior preparation really helped us out when applying for the grant. On April 15th of this year, we were notified of a special solicitation for this competitive, federally funded Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program. By April 22nd, we decided to pursue it internally, and by April 30th, we were able to submit a complete and successful grant application, by and large due to our previous proactive preparation. So we were able to leverage that $150,000 in our CIP funding, which was originally planned just for 0.8 miles of trail, to receive an additional $535,000 from this ODOT grant, allowing us to perform nearly 2 miles of trail. So the sections include Antrim Park, the Olentangy Wetland, Tuttle Park, 3rd Avenue to Goodale Street, and Confluence Park to Scioto Mile. And so we're laid to perform these 5 extents within one project to help reduce disruptions along the trail and align these improvements with the newly constructed bridges and recent trail improvements from our local partners. With the council's approval, we plan to complete construction by the end of 2026. So, are there any questions that we can answer at this time?
I'd say you guys are selling yourselves short. The work you guys put in on that assessment, y'all were out there on your own time on those trails. Your dedication has been incredible. Because let's face it, most of us would not want to spend our weekends going around doing assessments of pavement. So you guys just did incredible work. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues?
Just the gratitude, we hear a lot, especially folks in the mobility space, of what the trail experience is like. And at different points, it's really easy to navigate, at others it's not. And so just having an intentional system that allows us to make those repairs in a timely fashion. And I'm excited to see what we learn from that we can apply in other places. I think will just be I think it's in line with all the work that we're doing, Rhyme Bug Plus and other things. So I just appreciate your commitment to that. And I know folks in the community will be very, very appreciative as well.
Rec and Park gets it done. If there are no further comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
That's all for me, Council President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Health, Human Service, and Equity Committee, chaired by Councilmember Green. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Council President. Tonight in our, oh gosh, sorry, my screens are acting up here. Tonight in our Health, Human Services, and Equity Committee, we have 3 ordinances on second reading. Our first one is Ordinance 3115-2025 to authorize the Director of the Recreation and Parks Department to appropriate $1 million from the unappropriated balance of the Recreation and Parks Grant Fund for the provision of home and community-based services for older adult residents and to declare an emergency. This legislation authorizes the appropriation of grant funds that were received from the Ohio Department of Aging and the Franklin County Office on Aging for the provision of home and community-based services for older adult residents in Delaware, Delaware, Fairfield, Fayette, Franklin, Licking, Madison, Pickaway, and Union counties. So as you'll remember, COAAA moved from the city to its own independent entity. So this is a transfer of some of their remaining dollars to them so that they can continue to do that work. And as such, emergency action is requested so that the funds can be immediately available to meet payroll, retirement contributions, and insurance coverage obligations for staff, so on and so forth. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Wonderful. Our second ordinance tonight is Ordinance 3229-2025 to authorize and direct the Board of Health to enter into a supply contract with International Identification, DBA, the National Band and Tag Company, for the purchase of rabies vaccination tags to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Code to authorize an expenditure from the Health Special Revenue Fund and to declare an emergency. These supplies will serve Columbus residents with pets in need of rabies vaccination through 80 local veterinarian hospitals. Rabies vaccination tags are a requirement by the state of Ohio and the city of Columbus. There is literally nothing that our health department does not do to help keep our residents safe, and we are so grateful every single day that they do, and this one is one of them. Rabies is an infectious disease that we do not want to have spreading rampant throughout our community, and so this is going to help assist folks who need support in being able to access those resources to keep their families and then themselves and our community safe. Emergency designation for this ordinance will allow us to, in a timely fashion, provide tags to local veterinarian hospitals by January 1st of 2026. Are there any comments or questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Wonderful. And then our third and final ordinance of the night is Ordinance 3440-2025 to authorize the director on behalf of the Department of Finance and Management to enter into a loan agreement and promissory note with Mary Haven, Inc. to provide funding for operational support, to authorize the appropriation of $1 million within the Opioid Recovery Fund, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1 million from the Opioid Recovery Fund, and to declare an emergency. Since 1953, Mary Haven's expert clinicians and counselors have served more than 350,000 men, women, and adolescents across 4 separate Columbus campuses and 3 regional sites. Mary Haven provides invaluable comprehensive services for patients at all stages of substance use recovery, including residential and outpatient care, medically assisted treatment, as well as individual and group counseling. Mary Haven is, interestingly, one of the top alcohol and drug treatment centers in the United States, ranked the top. And so at this moment in time, all of our organizations across our community are struggling with some policy changes that's led to delays in reimbursement for services that have been provided. And so we are asking for emergency action in order to provide financial support that's needed to Maryhaven during this time of transition in a timely manner to sustain their existing operations, providing life-saving services to residents in need across our community. Before I move for passage, I do know that we have two folks who are here to speak on this ordinance, Jeff Derringer and Thad Breckenridge with SEIU 1199, and you are welcome to come to this podium to speak.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for providing the opportunity to testify on Agenda Item 3440 concerning the $1 million loan from the city to Maryhaven. My name is Jeff Derringer, and I'm the Political and Research Coordinator with SEIU District 1199, West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio. We are Ohio's largest healthcare union, and in June of 2024, over 85% of the PCA workers at Maryhaven voted yes to unionize because of how much passion and care they have for what they do and the people that they care for, and also to ensure the future success of Maryhaven as an organization. We are currently still bargaining a first contract with Maryhaven, but I will turn it over to my colleague Thad Breckenridge to just share a little more.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm Thad Breckenridge, an administrative organizer and chief negotiator representing the members of Maryhaven at the bargaining table. We stand in recognition of the workers at Maryhaven and those that benefit from their services. It is important to note that this ordinance not be seen as a bailout for the neglect and mismanagement of Maryhaven that has put them in this current situation. We understand that there will be potential negative consequences for our members if this loan is not approved by council. But we ask that strict scrutiny is applied to Maryhaven moving forward, and that those dollars come with diligent oversight and guidance from City Council, and that there is full transparency to ensure any future decisions support the workers and, most importantly, the clients of Maryhaven that our members are proud to serve. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight, and we are happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for your advocacy. And I'm especially excited that you are here tonight advocating. I think that, you know, I have felt as a social worker myself, as someone who's worked in direct practice and in community-based work, that we have a lot of opportunity in working alongside our partners in labor. We're really great as social workers anyways at advocating for others and not always as good at advocating for ourselves. And so working to provide better representation of not just the members of Maryhaven, but as, you know, to add visibility and respect to the professions as a whole, I think is incredibly important. And then coming here and also using your voice, you know, in our, across our health and human services sector, it's like the one business sector where I think we often are like, you know, tell us how much money it costs to do this big and important work. Great, we'll give you 25% of it, and you got to fundraise the rest. And that just doesn't make much sense to me. And so value very much your advocacy, both to help provide you know, better protections and workers' rights for the workers over at Maryhaven, as well as to build and grow a larger group of advocates to help advocate for increased investment in the important work that those workers do day in and day out. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do any of my colleagues have any other comments or questions?
Yeah, just one quick question.
Sure.
What's the basic terms of this loan? When does it need to be paid back? Or
I'll turn that over to our Director of Department of Finance.
Yeah, excuse me. Thank you, President Harden, Chair Green, members of council, and Councilmember Beatty. The terms are still being finalized, but we're not anticipating that this loan would be outstanding any longer than 1 year from origination.
Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you so much. That's all I have in our committee tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, chaired by Councilman Remy. Councilman, floor is yours.
Sorry about that. All right, so tonight I have two ordinances, 2624, 2025, to authorize and direct the Director of Department of Public Safety to enter into contract with Alina Sheriff DeNova, DBA Village Ventures LLC, for grant management services for the REACT program, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, to authorize an expenditure of $96,556 from the General Government Grant Fund, and to declare an emergency. The Department of Public Safety received a U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration grant award to be used to fund the REACT outreach efforts by the divisions of police and fire regarding overdoses in the community. The contract will be paid with grant funds to cover the costs of grant program manager services, data scientist services, and a data quality assurance administrator services. The Village Venture team is responsible for the grant setup, project and grant management execution of the proposed objectives, data evaluation and analysis, and federal reporting. Village Ventures will serve the grant specialist as the grant specialist primary point of contact and ensure project implementation is completed according to grant goals, objectives, and timeline. Village Ventures will also work closely with the Division of Fire and Police to ensure fiscal and programmatic reports for the budget year are prepared and submitted on time. The Public Safety Department requests to waive competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code to enter into contract with Village Ventures due to her expertise with this specific grant for the divisions of police and fire. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, I have 3199, 2025, to authorize and direct the city attorney to settle the lawsuit known as Samuel McKenzie versus City of Columbus, case number 223-CB2999, pending in the United States District Court of the Southern District of Ohio, to authorize the expenditure of the sum of $40,000.00 in settlement of the lawsuit and to declare an emergency. I would like to ask Melly Tobias, the Criminal Division Chief in the Columbus City Attorney's Office, to provide additional background on this particular settlement.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Remy, President Harden, Council. This litigation involved a lawsuit. The plaintiff, Samuel McKenzie, is an employee of the Department of Public Service. He's in the Refuse Division. He filed litigation claiming that the city, that he was discriminated against due to his race by not offering him a promotion, denying him a merit raise, and retaliating against him for filing an EEO complaint against his supervisor. Some of these complaints were alleged prior to the litigation being filed and were investigated by the Human Resources Department, and they were found to be unfounded. After the litigation was filed, we engaged in settlement discussions. We filed a motion for summary judgment in federal court. I highlight that for council because it's important. That is an opportunity for a defendant to make an argument to the court that even if you take all of the facts at face value and believe what is being alleged by the plaintiff, that they cannot prevail under the legal theories that they're putting forward. If you can win on that motion, then the case doesn't go any further. We lost that summary judgment motion. And so we were in a position then, we're at a trial date in federal court. We attended a settlement conference. The Director of Public Services was part of that settlement conference, part of the negotiations, working with the court. Plaintiff comes in with a very high number. The city has a number that we were looking at that was significantly lower, but during these negotiations, we came up to an agreement of the $40,000 as an acceptable settlement. I will note that risk mitigation is something that the City Attorney's Office looks at when we're advising our clients and working with the different divisions. When you go forward to trial, you don't know what the outcome is going to be. If you lose, your damages may be a very low number, but attorney's fees are always what gets you in the end. And that's something that you always have to take into consideration. What are the attorney's fees going to be in this? And can we come up with a resolution that will hopefully be less than what the attorney's fees would be, even if you were to, if the the plaintiff were to prevail in their lawsuit. This does not acknowledge any wrongdoing. There is no admission of wrongdoing on the part of the Department of Public Services, but we believe it's a fair resolution and a good risk mitigation resolution in this case.
Thank you. Director, do you have any additional comments you'd like to make?
President Harden, members of council, I do not.
Do any of my colleagues have any questions? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you very much, Council President. That is all I have this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there a motion to recess for zoning? Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
In recess. My bad. No, you're good. You're good. Welcome. Stay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. We'll now go to the zoning committee. President Pro Tem chairs that committee. All members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First, a little bit of housekeeping. Will the clerk please read the numbers of legislation in tonight's committee that require waiver of second reading?
Ordinance 3187, 3262, 3268, 3263, 3265, 3269, and 3270-2025.
Thank you. I now move to waive second reading on those items.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Waived.
Thank you. As always, I like to explain our rules speaking before council on rezonings and variances. We only hear a staff presentation of ordinances that have a disapproval from a recommended body, or if we have a public speaker signed up to speak against an ordinance. We permit 3 speakers on each side, 3 proponents, 3 opponents. We ask those speakers limit their remarks to 3 minutes per the standard rules of City Council. All speakers in the council variance, including city staff, area commission, applicants, and members of the public will be sworn in before they give testimony. Representatives of the area commission are always able to speak on an ordinance. You do not need to fill out a speaker slip. We do ask you alert city staff your intention to speak at this committee hearing. We did have 1 public speaker signed up to speak on an ordinance, but they have since withdrawn that speaker slip. On the advice of the city attorney's office, we'll now swear in city staff. Please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, nothing but the truth, as you shall answer under pain of penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that Brandon Carpenter for the Department of Building and Zoning Services and Dan Bleshman for the Division of Traffic Management and the Department of Public Service have been sworn in. First, we have Ordinance 3187 to amend Ordinance Number 1460-2015, passed June 22nd, 2015, and Ordinance 2912-2025, passed December 7th of 2015, for the property at 1600 Riverside by repealing Section 3 and replacing with a new Section 3 to modify the building setback line along Riverside Drive in the CPD Commercial Plan Development District. Ordinance number 1460-2025, which was passed in 2015, rezoned 26 acres to establish specific development standards for an assisted living, nursing home, and housing for elderly, with use restrictions and standards that address building and parking setbacks, building height limitations, and access to parking restrictions, pedestrian connections, tree preservation, lighting, and building design. This ordinance further amends that development text by allowing pickleball courts and associated fencing and structures to be within 50-foot building setback along Riverside Drive. The remaining sections remain unchanged, are in effect. Proposals are approved from city staff, and while there's no air commission, the North Pacific Association is very excited about the pickleball. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 3262-2025 to rezone 1037 Ridge Street, being 1.04 plus acres located in the south side of Ridge Street, 200 plus feet west of Waterman Avenue from ARO Apartment Office District to LM Limited Manufacturing District. This site consists of 2 parcels with an office building and garage, and requested rezoning will legitimize the current use to comply with an active zoning code violation. We will consider a concurrent variance later on tonight's agenda for this property as well. Proposal is approved from City Staff, Development Commission, and the West Side Area Commission. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 3268-2025 to rezone 3654 Old and Tangy River Road, being 3.5 plus acres located on the east side of Old and Tangy River Road, 150 plus feet north of Colonial Parkway from CPD Commercial Plan Development District to LAR3 Limited Apartment Residential District. This site consists of 1 parcel to develop a parking lot, and the requested council variance will allow for a 275 unit apartment building with structured parking. The limitation text includes supplemental development standards addressing traffic improvements, yards, parking, and includes a site plan and building elevation commitments. Again, there's a concurrent council variance later in tonight's agenda for this property as well. There is no civic association or area commission overseeing this area, but the proposal is approved from city staff and the development commission. As I mentioned earlier, we did have 1 public speaker signed up to speak on this piece of legislation, but they have since withdrawn their speaker slip. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Thank Thank you. Next, we move into the council variances portion of the agenda. First, we have ordinance 3263-2025 to grant a variance provision section 3311.28A, less objectionable uses, 3312.21D, landscaping and screening, 3312.25, maneuvering, 3312.27, parking setback line, and 3312.49C, required parking, and 3321.05, vision clearance, and 3363.24, building lines in a M manufacturing district, 3363.27B2 height area regulations, and 3363.41A storage of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1037 Ridge Street to allow reduced development standards for limited manufacturing and storage uses in the LM Limited Manufacturing District. This is a concurrent variance of rezoning we considered earlier tonight. The requested variance will legitimize the reduced development standards for the existing development, including reduced parking lot screening, maneuvering, parking setbacks, required parking, vision clearance, building setback, storage setback, and required separation distance from the adjacent residential use. Proposal is approved from city staff and the West Sauter Area Commission. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Thank you. I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Thank you. I finally move for passage.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3265-2025 to grant a variance provisions of section 333, 2.037 R2 residential district, 3312.29 parking space, 3312.49C required parking, and 3332.05 A4 area district lot with requirements, 3332.14 R2F area district requirements, 3332.18 D basic computing area, 3332.25B maximum side yard required, and 3332.26 minimum side yard permitted in Columbus City Codes for property located at 183 North Miami Avenue to allow a 4-unit dwelling for reduced development standards in the R2F residential district. Site consists of one undeveloped parcel, and the requested council variance will allow the development of a 4-unit dwelling. A council variance is required because a single unit and 2-unit dwellings are only allowable residential uses in the current zoning district. Variances for parking space, required parking, area district lot with requirements, lot coverage, building setback, side yard, and lot area requirements are included in the request. Approvals from city staff and the Near East Area Commission. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Thank you. I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
And finally move for passage.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3269-2025 to grant a variance provisions section 333, 2.033 R2 residential district and 3312.49C required parking in the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1174 Ramona Place to allow a type A child care home with reduced parking in the R2 residential district. This site consists of one parcel, developed a single-unit dwelling, and the requested council variance will allow the existing dwelling to be used as a type A child care home. A council variance is required because the current zoning district allows for type B child care homes, but does not allow for type A. Type B homes can have up to 6 children, while a type A home can care for 7 to 12 children. Type A homes have more children and more stringent requirements and must comply with the Ohio Revised Code and pass inspections by the state. A variance to reduce required parking from 5 spaces to 2 spaces is also included in this request. Proposal is approved from city staff, but a disapproval from the West Sauter Area Commission, though their zoning committee did vote in favor of the proposal. Due to that disapproval by the full commission, we will now hear a staff report from the city, starting with Mr. Brandon Carpenter. The floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, President Harden, Chair Dorans, members of council. The requested council variance will allow a type A child care home at this location. To the north, south, east, and west of the site are single-unit dwellings in the R2 residential district. The site is located within the planning boundaries of the Trabue-Roberts Area Plan, which recommends low-medium density residential land uses at this location, consistent with the primary residential use of the property. The site is also subject to the Columbus Citywide Planning Policy's design guidelines. Staff recognizes that there are practical difficulties with the reduction in required parking included in this request. The requested council variance will allow a type A family child daycare home at this location, since the primary use of the property will remain a single unit dwelling Staff has no objection to the requested Type A family child care home, which must comply with the Ohio Revised Code requirements and be inspected as required by the state of Ohio. Therefore, the State Department's recommendation is for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, we'll move to Mr. Bleshman from the Division of Traffic Management.
Thank you, Chair Dorns, President Harden, members of council. With regards to the requested use variance to permit a Type A family child care home and the requested variance to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 5 to 2, please be advised that this site includes a 2-car garage and space within the existing driveway that will allow a minimum of 2 vehicles to simultaneously pick up and drop off children on this site in a safe manner. In consideration that the interval of time for parent pickup and drop off is a short duration, the variance to reduce the number of required parking spaces can be supported. Additionally, the additional 6 children that would be requested to be accommodated at this location would generate a total of 4 additional vehicular trips, 2 entering and 2 exiting in the AM peak hour, and a total of 4 additional vehicular trips, 2 entering and 2 exiting in the PM peak hour. These volumes are nominal and would not represent an unreasonable increase in traffic volumes in this area. With these comments noted, the Department of Public Service is in support of this application, and I would be happy to answer any further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bleshman. Just one note, we are not aware of any 311 submissions or complaints or anything from the current use. So we're talking about, the Type B facility is already in existence. They already have, parents picking up and dropping off their kiddos. We're not aware of any current complaints that have been filed through that. At least my office wasn't aware of those when we did some research. I just want to make sure the Department of Public Service isn't aware of any either.
No, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware of any specific complaints.
And again, because the facility already exists, i.e. a house, it's very difficult for them to comply with the parking, nearly impossible for them to comply with the parking requirements that this would have. So when we talk about the practical difficulties, it's difficult to develop that amount of parking given that it's already developed as a dwelling unit right now.
Right, I would agree that that would be an undue burden for this site to comply with.
Thank you. Do want to invite the applicant, Ms. Paulina Erie, and I believe her daughter, who's going to be speaking on her behalf, Ms. Mary Rose, to the podium. So just to let you both know, I'm going to swear you in when you get up here real quick, and then you can speak to us a little bit about the request. Welcome both to council. So real quick, I'm going to swear you in. If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, nothing but the truth, or you shall answer to pains and penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you. So if you just want to talk to us a little bit about the plans here and sort of what you've gone through to date.
Good evening, council. Thank you for having us here today. Currently, we run a Type B daycare, which the rules have changed. We can now care for up to 7 children. We started this daycare because of my grandmother in Nigeria. She wasn't a daycare owner, but when her neighbors would go out to shop, all her kids would come to her house and surround her, and she really loved all the children. So we're bringing her legacy over here. So currently we have up to 7 kids, and we've noticed that we've been getting more calls from families that they need care, but we can't provide any more care because we're up to our ratio. So we were hoping to be able to expand. We've already gone through the licensing for Type B, so we're aware of everything that we would need for Type A. But before we can proceed with Type A, we have to go through the council variance.
Any questions by my colleagues for the applicant? See none. Thank you both for coming down. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
As we heard from the department, I think the boxes have been certainly checked for establishing a hardship. Outside of the zoning, note, as a council with lots of kids in daycare and preschool right now, which is not pertinent to the hardship, but certainly something that I think we all can certainly sympathize with, having more childcare available within neighborhoods across Columbus. This is something that I do think is something that the applicant has not only established the hardship here, but certainly something that I think this body would like to see move forward. So with that, if there's any other question or comments, I move to accept the staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. Next, move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you. Finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And finally, we have ordinance 3270-2025 to grant a variance of provisions of section 3312.29 parking spaces, 3312.49C required parking, and 3333.03 AR3 apartment residential district use, 3333.15B basic computing area, 3333.18 building lines, and 333.24 rear yard of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 3654 Old Tangier River Road to allow commercial vehicular access to the LAR3 limited apartment residential district reduced development standards for apartment building. This is a concurrent council variance to rezoning we had earlier in tonight's agenda for the 275-unit apartment building with structured parking. This council variance will allow commercial vehicular access to the property directly east of the subject area. Additionally, variance to the parking space size, required parking and building setback line, lot coverage, and rear yard are included in the request. Again, there's no area commission or Pacific Association as part of the city, but it does have approvals from city staff. And because of the variance, it does not go before the Development Commission. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. Next, move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you. And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. All we have in zoning tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seeing no further business to come for the zoning committee, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Next committee coming before council is the Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember White. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight in Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, I have 8 ordinances before Council. The first 2 ordinances both involve contracts needed for the Jackson Pike Water Reclamation Plant Dewatering Improvement Project. So I'd like to describe them together. Dewatering systems are the primary means of separating wastewater solids from liquids. Yes, I said that out loud, so you can think that in your head. In addition to removing solids to disposal outlets, these 2 contracts will provide funding for the replacement of existing problematic equipment at the Jackson Pike Water Reclamation Plant, including dewatering centrifuges, feed pumps, cake pumps, and electrical gear, ensuring that the city continues to maintain sufficient wastewater treatment capacity. So first, I have Ordinance 2976-2025 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to enter into a professional engineering services contract with Arcadius U.S. Incorporated for the Jackson Pike Water Reclamation Plant Dewatering Improvements Project, to authorize the appropriation of funds within the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund, to make this ordinance contingent upon the Ohio Water Development Authority approving a loan for this project, and to authorize the expenditure of up to $3,132,414 from the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund for the contract. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And next, I have Ordinance 2983-2025 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to enter into a professional engineering services contract with HDR Engineering Incorporated for the Southerly Water Reclamation Plant Dewatering Improvements Project, to authorize the appropriation of funds within the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund, to make this ordinance contingent upon Ohio Water Development Authority approving a loan for this project, and to authorize the expenditure of up to $3,446,125.60 from the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund for the contract. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have Ordinance 3042-2025 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a construction contract with Capital Electric Line Builders for the Smart Lighting Phase 2 LED Conversions Project, to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to apply for, accept, and execute documents necessary to enter into a grant agreement with the State of Ohio Department of Development, and to repay any unused grant funds, to appropriate funds, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,339,261.54 from the Electricity Bond Fund and the Electricity Grant Fund, and to declare an emergency. This project will replace 3,900 existing lights on the south side with light-emitting diode lighting, LED. The conversion to LED lighting will provide significant energy savings for the Division of Power due to the energy-efficient nature of LED lighting. Emergency designation is requested because a portion of this funding for the project is being provided by a grant from the Ohio Department of Development, and the grant requires the funds be expended by April 15, 2026, or risk the federal funds being clawed back. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues.
This is, I'm sorry, Chair. This is just replacement,
Correct.
not new, but replacement.
Correct.
Right? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? You threw me for a loop there, council member. I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have Ordinance 3143-2025 to authorize the expenditure of $2 million or so much thereof as may be necessary from the Division of Refuse Collection General Fund, to pay waste disposal tipping fees for the Division of Refuse Collection, to authorize the Director of Public Service to establish an encumbrance of $2 million to pay refuse tipping fees to the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio for the Division of Refuse Collection pursuant to an existing lease agreement, and to declare an emergency. This legislation is necessary in order to safely and contractually dispose of the waste produced by residents. The Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio's tipping rates are determined by an established rate-setting process due to an existing contractual relationship with where the City of Columbus participates in the rate-setting process. The city is required to use SWACO waste disposal services. Emergency designation is requested to avoid incurring interest and penalties for delayed payment. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 3146-2025 to authorize and direct the city auditor to appropriate and transfer funds from the special purpose PFAS settlement fund to the Department of Public Utilities Water Operating Fund and to declare an emergency. On July 28, 2025, the city of Columbus was authorized to accept settlement claims in the multi-district aqueous film forming foams product liability litigation. This ordinance requests the appropriation and transfer of these settlement funds from the PFAS settlement fund to the water operating fund so that these funds can be used by the Division of Water for the purpose of improving water quality. Emergency designation is requested to allow the accounting entries to be completed before year-end reconciliation of funds. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second. Clerk, please call the row.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 3181-2025 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate universal term contract for the purchase of materials and services for the Safe and Clean Corridor Street Lighting Conversion for the Department of Public Utilities with W.W. Granger Incorporated, Loeb Electric Company, Crescent Electric Supply Company, Utility Supply Company, Springfield Electric Supply Company, and New River Electrical Corporation to authorize an expenditure of up to $1,250,000 from the Electricity Bond Fund to pay for the equipment and to declare an emergency. This project will replace existing streetlights in the Sullivan, Parsons, and Livingston Avenue areas with LED lighting. LED lighting is reliable, efficient, and enabling the division to realize significant energy and cost savings. Emergency designation is requested in order to meet project deadlines. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 3214-2025 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to establish purchase orders and associate purchase agreements with multiple vendors for the purchase of refuse collection containers and parts from Tank Holding Corp. Doing business as Snyder Industries Incorporated, IPL North America Incorporated, and Rehurig Pacific to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,007,592 from the Refuse Bond Fund for the purchase of these containers and parts and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the purchase of refuse containers to be used in the Division of Refuse Collections collection system for residential trash services. Emergency designation is requested to maintain an uninterrupted supply of refuse containers to ensure the continued delivery of refuse collection services to all residents without delay. Let me stop there, seeing any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And last, I have ordinance 3227-2025 to authorize the city attorney on behalf of the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to enter into a contract for special legal counsel and professional services with Squire Patton Boggs LLP to authorize the expenditure of $469,953.75 split among the electricity, water, sanitary sewer, and stormwater operating funds, and to waive competitive bidding provisions of city code and to declare an emergency. This contract will provide the Department of Public Utilities with special legal counsel and professional services related to operational review and strategic planning, a comprehensive operational review and assessment of different strategies for achieving DPU's goals was previously conducted by Raftellus Financial Consultants. During the review, Raftellus consulted with Squire Patton Boggs on legal review of the project to ensure the continuation of these legal services. It is within the city's best interest to waive competitive bidding. Emergency designation has also been requested in order to provide uninterrupted legal and professional services. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. That is all I have for my committee this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The final committee to come before council is the Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, and I chair that committee. And first up, we have ordinance 3151-2025. Is to authorize the Director of the Department of Development with the approval by Columbus City Council to approve the forgiveness of individual loans to homeowners who meet the eligibility requirements of the program. The current request for forgiveness is approximately $1,766,587.33. which will remove the burden of these qualifying homeowners and help support housing stability and will lower the city's expenses with Recreational, who manages these loans on our behalf, and declare an emergency. This legislation was requested by the Department of Development to strengthen its loan program for critical and emergency home repairs, particularly in situations where the homeowner has passed away. These programs support essential repairs such as roof replacement, foundation stabilization, and water heater repairs that help prevent residents from facing homelessness or significant financial hardship. Since 1986, these programs have been funded through a combination of local and federal sources, using both grants and loans. As the department has evaluated the long-term impact of these investments, it has recognized both the limited useful life of certain improvements and the importance of ensuring that city programs do not unintentionally perpetuate inequities or restrict wealth building, especially for residents impacted by generational wealth. If there are no comments from my colleagues, I move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty, De Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Pass. Next up, the next two ordinances are related. The first ordinance is 3236-2025. This ordinance authorizes the appropriation and expenditure in an amount of up to $352,000 of Home Investment Partnership Program or Home ARP funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. It authorizes the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a sub-recipient not-for-profit service contract with Southeast Area, Inc. In the amount of up to $352,000 to establish a team of engagement specialists to provide supportive services for those that are deemed eligible under the Home ARP guidelines, to authorize the appropriation and expenditure in the amount of up to $28,200 within the Home Income Tax Set-Aside Fund, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a grant agreement with Southeast Incorporated in an amount of up to $28,200 to provide operational support, authorizes food and non-alcoholic beverages to be considered as an optional cost of this nonprofit organization. It authorizes expenditures prior to the purchase order being beginning December 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2029, to authorize the advancement of a portion of the grant agreement in a predetermined schedule and to declare an emergency. The next ordinance is also related to this prior piece of legislation. It's ordinance 3237-2025. This ordinance authorizes the appropriation and expenditure in the amount of up to $264,000 of Home Investment Partnership Program or Home ARP funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and authorizes the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a sub-recipient not-for-profit service contract with Maryhaven, Inc. in the amount of up to $264,000 to establish a team of engagement specialists to provide supportive services for those that are deemed eligible under the Home ARP guidelines, authorizes the appropriation and expenditures in the amount of up to $21,150 within the Income Tax Set-Aside Subfund, authorizes the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a grant agreement with Maryhaven, Inc. in the amount of up to $21,150 to provide operational support, and it authorizes food and non-alcoholic beverages to be considered in an operational cost for this nonprofit organization. It authorizes the expenditure prior to the purchase order beginning December 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2029, and to authorize the advancement of a portion of this grant agreement in a predetermined schedule and to declare an emergency. These two pieces of legislation mark the launch of a new and important initiative for the City of Columbus. Guided by best practices and informed by gaps in our current system, the city is creating the Core Team program, designed to strengthen coordination and expand the capacity of our homelessness outreach services. Columbus is experiencing a rise in unsheltered homelessness, and this growing crisis impacts not only individuals and families living without shelter, but also first responders, city employees, outreach workers, and community members who interact with them every day. This pilot program, known as the Core Team, short for Columbus Outreach and Resource Engagement Team, will bring together engagement specialists from Southeast Inc. and Maryhaven, Inc., working in close partnership with the city's homelessness response team. Their focus will be to expand outreach, deepen engagement, and reconnect our most vulnerable residents with safe, stable, and appropriate housing options tailored for their needs. In addition, the Core Team will connect individuals to critical physical and behavioral services with partnerships. This program is funded through the federal Home ARP dollars and is intended to receive annual funding through December 31st, 2029. This is a really exciting program. Director, do you want to add anything to this?
Thank you, President Harden, members of council. We're really excited to bring this forward and partner with Southeast and Maryhaven on how do we best connect with those individuals who've been living on the land for an extended period of time. And what we've done is we've created a program that is outside of normal working hours. It's 7 days a week. It is really engaging with those folks. And we've talked a lot as we go into the winter months. How do we build a relationship and a trust with individuals to get them off the land and get them housed? So we're excited about this opportunity and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are there any questions or comments on this? Councilmember.
Well, first of all, I think we need to move this exciting stuff towards the front of the agenda because, Jordan, I don't know how much they let you write about us, but this is one thing that I think is worthy of some coverage. And first and foremost, I just want to thank Director Stevens and the Department of Development. This is, I think this is one of the most exciting things that I've seen happening since I've been on council. It is such a great model. I think it is responsive to everything that we've been hearing from community advocates around the need for supportive engagement that has real connections and assistance wrapped up into it. And so again, I just want to thank you so much and to the rest of your colleagues at the department for their work on this. And I'm excited to support it moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. The one thing that the director and I talked about was the growing ability for our team to coordinate. There are a lot of folks out there that are doing street outreach work, but having the same standards, same training, and understanding what is being done as we engage our vulnerable populations is something that I think that this is growing us in that direction. So really looking forward to supporting this as well. If there are no other questions or comments, I move for passage on ordinance 3236-2025. Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed, and I move for passage of ordinance 3237-2025. Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed. The next ordinance I have is 3279-2025. Is to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to execute a funding agreement in the amount of up to $10 million with the Central Ohio Community Land Trust to develop affordable housing, to authorize the expenditure of up to $10 million from the Affordable Housing Bond Fund, and to authorize the advancement of funds on a predetermined schedule, to authorize the reimbursement of expenses incurred prior to the purchase order, and to declare an emergency. This legislation directs a planned allocation from the city's affordable housing bond to the Central Ohio Community Land Trust to provide permanently affordable home ownership opportunities in Columbus. In partnership with Franklin County, the Land Trust focuses on infill and middle housing for households earning up to 120% of the area median income, ensuring that these homes remain affordable not just for the first buyer, but for generations to come. As Columbus continues to grow and housing costs remain high, we must be intentional about creating real pathways to home ownership for working families. This investment supports stable neighborhoods, it expands access to home ownership, and it helps to ensure that longtime residents are not priced out of the communities they help to build while meeting the evolving needs of our city. If there are no further questions or comments, I move for passage. I have a speaker on this. I apologize. I have Mr. Nate Wilkins speaking in support of ordinance 3279. Nate, welcome to council.
(1612) Arlington Avenue, Mr. Lathan George Wilkins. First of all, let me say I will be speaking in favor of this SR 3279-2025. First of all, I'd like to know what would be the $10 million will be used for. Second of all, I'd like to see this more than 5 years. Number three, I'd like to see a new title called a Vacant Community Land Trust 2. Will stay for 42 years, $3.6 million. We all talk about this housing, but nothing is allocated for vacant, boarded up homes sit for over 120 years. First of all, let me just show you 1457 Arlington Avenue. It's been vacant, was built in 1910. Other properties along Genesee was torn down. I want to remind you, there's nothing, this is seeming like $10 million. We need to allocate some more money for fixing vacant property that stand over 120 years ago. Our property was on Genesee Avenue with 1603 Genesee Avenue, slapped with a vacant sign, and unfortunately it was torn down. You know, we keep doing this talking and talking and talking. There can be other alternatives and ideas for vacant abandonment home. I lived in my house at 1612 for more than 15 years. And mind you, I walk down here every day past a particular home of 1617 Genesee Avenue. And I told that house one day that's going to be my house, is because now it's getting renovated inside with all the studs up and electrical and all this other stuff. We can do something different and unique. Why these houses are still sitting idolized, boarded up, and vacant. Today, I decided to have somebody drive down the block, 4 houses of 1584, 1586 Arlington Avenue. Taxes are being paid, but right next door is a foreclosed property. I don't understand. Yes, I want this to be passed. And let me say this again. I want this to be passed on one allocation, to change the name from Community Land Trust to a vacant community land trust for more than 42 years. I sit in this back row and watch y'all pass every legislation with this, but there's nothing in the bylaws or the guide rules of this for homeowners that has bought a vacant home. Taxes can be lowered. That's what I don't see. And I'm tired to seeing this stuff passed. There's no allocation for fixing vacant property, because I have this stuff around me.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilkins. And I mean, this is consistent with your advocacy to find creative solutions to our housing issue. We'll continue to engage and work, I think, very specifically around vacant and abandoned housing.
Council President?
Please.
I would also request or suggest that Mr. Wilkins meet with the Community Land Trust too, and get a feeling for or get more knowledge about their overall services, because they have supported demolition and all kinds of other things, not just buying land. So
For sure.
I think he can learn something. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. If there are no further questions or comments, I move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed. And last in my committee is ordinance 3296-2025, is to authorize the appropriation of $1,795,428 from the unappropriated balance of the Land Management Fund to the Department of Development to provide funds for the administration of the Real Estate and Land Redevelopment Division for budget year 2026 and to declare an emergency. This legislation provides funds for expenses related to the management and maintenance of properties held in the Columbus Land Bank. This budget supports the work of land redevelopment within the city of for the future and current land bank properties. If there are no comments or questions, I move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed. Going back to the consent portion of the agenda, I first move to postpone ordinance 3322-2025 to 12:15. Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Meeting is postponed. Legislation is postponed. If there's no further business coming for council, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the roll.
Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. We have several non-agenda